What is going on, traders? In this video, we're going to go over the SPY, the triple Qs, and then we're going to look at some contracts that institutions are trading when it comes to Nvidia. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So right now, we're looking at the SPY daily time frame, and we warned about this. We talked about this in the last video. We talked about this in multiple videos, where once you head towards 600, between 600 and 604, you want to be careful. You do not want to be looking to get calls in this area. Why was I warning about that? Just in case you're new to the YouTube channel. Well, it's really simple. I mean, you see it right here. You just see a lot of bearish activity happening here. Way more bearish candles versus bullish candles, and way bigger bearish candles than bullish candles. And then you start to see here that bulls are fading away. And then after Jerome Powell's speech, you saw this massive drop. And so we headed back towards 602, 603, give or take. And then we saw that a major rejection happen today all the way towards 590, 591, give or take. And so the question is, where do we go from here? Because right now we're forming some type of head and shoulders pattern, right? You got your shoulder here, your head here, another shoulder here. Now, keep in mind, the head and shoulders pattern isn't yet confirmed until you break the neckline, and the neckline is all the way at about 579, 580, more or less, and then you'll start heading towards 576 gap fill. But where do we go from here? I don't think we're going to drop much further from here, at least for the short term. All right. I do think we're going to see at least one more pump before we really just dump to the downside. Now, why am I saying that? Well, we go to the 4 hour time frame, and we left a little void up here, a little fair value gap up here at around 598 600, right? And so as you guys, if you're paying attention to all my videos, right, I'm always talking about 598. Even the last video, I told you guys if we break below 598 again, it's going to get ugly once again. And look what happened. So that is twice that I've been spot on with that 598 level. I mean, every time we break this level, even here, Jerome Powell speech, we broke below 598, and we headed as low as about 579, 580, give or take, right? And so we saw this happen again. We broke below 598. We dropped fast all the way towards 595.91. And so I do imagine that the SPY is going to get one more pump to the upside, and we retest that, between 598 600 area before possibly rejecting all over again. But maybe that's not enough. Maybe we should just look at the options chain and see what whales are doing. Well, whales are loading up calls on the SPY. Now, in case you're bearish, I don't want you to click off just yet, because we're going to get into the bearish side of things, because something interesting is happening here. And so we're looking at SPY calls here, and yeah, a lot of them have a higher ask than bid. Now, I know you guys can see the ask over bid. This is why you do the work yourself and you get your own options chain. A lot of brokers have free options chain, guys. So the fact that you're depending on me to tell you the exact ask and bid is crazy to me. But we do see that there is a lot of calls coming in from institutions. We got 600 calls for December 30th. We got 596 calls for December 30th, and then you have 590 puts as well. And a lot of these have a higher ask than bid. Now we can chalk a lot of these up to maybe they're just hedge fund hedging or whatever the case may be. Actually, these 596 and 590 puts have a higher bid than ask. And so, in case you're new to all this, anytime whales are buying something or have a contract that has a higher bid than ask, that means they're selling the contract. And if it's a higher ask than bid, that means they're buying the contract. And so the 600 calls actually do have a higher ask than bid. You have a 47,000 ask over a 40,000 bid. Now, if you can't see it, you just got to take my word for it, or you got to do the work yourself and look those contracts up. And so you're seeing a lot of calls come in, but you're also seeing a mixture of puts come in. And so what contract that really got my attention here is these 580 puts for January 10th. And these contracts are insane because one, they have a 4.57 million premium, and then they have a 15,000 ask over a 3,000 bid. And so we go to quant data, and quant data, the link will be in the description below. And so we look these contracts up, right? And what quant data does is it tells you what institutions are trading these contracts, or what exchanges these contracts are being traded under. And so we look these contracts up just to clarify that institutions are actually trading them. And so we click this first spike here. It has an 829K put premium versus a zero call premium, which is pretty insane. As you guys can see, you're seeing a lot of 580 puts come in for January 10th, right? And so we click on the next spike, And again, link will be in the description below. And you're seeing the same thing. A lot of 580 puts. You know, you have your 255K premium. Hopefully, you guys can see this. Let me scroll over real quick. But you're seeing they're at the ask, right? So, what does it mean when the ask is higher than the bid? It means they're buying, right? And so, you have a 255K premium. Your sentiment is bearish. And then here's your exchange that's trading it. But again, you're seeing that these puts are actually in play, or exchanges are at least actually playing these puts, and then you're seeing it get worse across the board. I mean, look at this. This is insane. You're just seeing nothing but blood here. And again, these are all at the ask. And so those contracts are very interesting, and we talked about this before, where I still think the SPY is going to head towards that 576 gap fill. It's just a matter of when. And so I still think we're going to get one more pump at least this week heading into New Year's. It is a short week. Where market is closed on Wednesday, but I do think we're going to get at least one more pump before possibly seeing that move or those contracts play out, that 580 put play out on the SPY. And then from there, we're looking at a neckline break. If this head and shoulder patterns actually play it out, we're looking at a neckline break around 580, 579. Then you're looking at this gap fill at 576. So the contracts make sense, right? They make absolute sense because, again, you have this gap at 576 that we attempted to fill before, but we failed. And so it looks like that those wells or those institutions are looking to try again and fill this gap at 576 on the SPY. So that's what I'm looking at in regards to the SPY when we're talking about downside. Now, sentiment still remain the same when we're talking about new highs. We still want to see a break above 604. If we break above 604 on the SPY, then we're heading towards previous highs at around 608.5, 608.6. And then if we break above that, then we're talking about new highs at around 610, and highest we can be looking at least for me, is about 614, right? So that's what I'm looking at in regards to the SPY. And as you guys can see, we're still trading within this channel. We've been talking about this channel for quite some time, but as you guys can see, still in play, still intact. And so we go to the triple Qs. So triple Qs told you guys that if we break below 529, which actually happened pre-market, you're heading lower, right? You're heading towards 527. We saw that happen, I believe, pre-market, and then you're heading as low as 525, and we completely crushed that. And now we are here at around 522, or we closed around 522. And as you guys can see, we are right now we're this is the ugliest rising wedge ever. I mean, trust me, I'm not making this up. I didn't force this or anything. You guys see it here. I mean, you rejected here, you rejected multiple times here, and then you just start doing all of this. Okay, so this is insane. But I've seen this before, guys. I've seen this happen before, and I talked about this before. Anytime you have a rising wedge pattern, which is a bearish pattern, by the way, and you do stuff like this, right? What typically happens is that you start to roll outside of the pattern. Okay, that's usually what happens. You see some type of rolling effect, and then you start to roll out of the pattern. So that could very much happen. I mean, more often than not, I've seen it happen that way. Not only that, but I mean, the same scenario that's happened back here can happen here as well. We talked about this in the last video where I said that um, this current breakout can pretty much repeat history, and we can see the same exact effect that we saw here. We gapped down, and then we just broke back into the rising wedge pattern, and then eventually we came back up. And now it looks like we're kind of doing the same thing right here. So I would not marry the idea of a Santa rally. And this is why I keep saying I'm not anticipating a Santa rally. Would it be great that it happens? Sure. But Santa rallies usually happen the last 5 days of December. And I think like the first 3 days of January. I could be wrong on that second part, but regardless, the last 5 days of December is usually when the Santa rally happens. And right now, we're in the last 5 days, and so far we've dropped. Okay, so something to think about, something to consider. So again, I'm not really anticipating a Santa rally. I just don't see it yet. Maybe it'll come. Right now, it looks like it's just chalked. Okay, it looks like it's cooked. Okay, we'll see. And so that's what I'm looking at for the triple Qs. How did I get back on the spot? And so the lowest we can be looking at in regards to the triple Qs, if we're talking about downside here, I think we can head as low as about 502. Well, my lowest target is about 492, and we'll talk about that in a future video. Again, because we did talk about it before. But right now, short term, I do think we could possibly retest about 527, 528. We'll say 529 because that's the level that caused like a chain reaction across the market, right? But we'll say 529. We retest 529, and then we possibly create some type of lower high from here. and then we head further down. Now, it's important to note, and I meant to mention this before, that there are reversal patterns here. You got a hammer pattern here, and then you go to the SPY, and you have another hammer pattern here as well. So very interesting. It is a reversal pattern, so yeah, that's why I'm expecting at least one more pump before we see another dump. All right, so now we got to talk about Nvidia, right? This is where things get really juicy. Okay, so we're looking at Nvidia, and right now we talked about this in the last video, right? Where semiconductors look like they want to pump back to the upside, and believe it or not, I still think they have that potential. You guys see it here. We have a falling wedge pattern right here, and so what's interesting about Nvidia? Right, we go here, and you have your resistance right at around, where is it? Here we go. Right around 138. Let's go to the smaller time frame. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I'm off, but right below 138, right? Nvidia closed right below 138. Now, you would say that that's bearish, right? And I talked about this in the last video. If Nvidia gets below 138, you're going to head lower, and we headed as low as about 135, 134, give or take. And so we broke out of this rising wedge, and then we ended up retesting the top of this rising wedge, right? So things still look good for Nvidia. Now, you're probably like, well, right now we're below 138. Isn't that a bad sign? Not really, because when we look at SMH, and then we'll look at the options chain because that's where things really get interesting, right? We look at SMH, and I mean, look at where SMH is. It's still above. I mean, we go to the daily time frame, and you guys see we're still outside of the symmetrical triangle. Now, again, we don't want to jump the gun. We don't want to get too excited because we've had multiple false breakouts on the symmetrical triangle. You broke out here, you broke back down. You broke out here, broke back down, so on and so forth. You get the idea. So we can see the same effect happen. And so highest I'm looking at for SMH if we're talking about more upside from here because we're still above a key level, right? We're still above 245 on SMH. And so as long as we stay above 245, I think we had the potential to head as high at minimum between 253 and 255 on SMH. Now, if we're talking about more upside, then we want to see a break above 255 and then we'll look at a move toward 261, 261, 260 give or take. And then if we break above 262, then we're heading towards this gap fill right here all the way towards 270. And so we look at another semiconductor ETF, right? We look at SOXX. And again, you're looking at the same thing. You're breaking out of this descending triangle, rising wedge. It doesn't, I mean, falling wedge doesn't necessarily matter what it is. I mean, you can argue either or. Either way, we're breaking out, right? We're slowly breaking out here. And so right now we're above this key zone at around 220. And so again, we don't want to get too optimistic because we're seeing a breakout. We saw a false breakout before, and then bears stepped in, and now bulls are trying once again. So we can easily form some type of lower high here. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. And so we go back to the options chain and we look up Nvidia, right? And so type this in real quick. All right, so we look up Nvidia, and what's very interesting, a lot of calls came in, a lot of 140 calls to be specific came in, but one particular contract caught my attention. This contract right here, okay, so these 140 calls for January 24th has a 38 million premium, guys, a 38 million premium. Not only that, but the ask over bid is insane. You have a 55,000 ask over a 13,000 bid. Okay, so that's crazy. Okay. And right now we're in this play. Okay. We are in this play in the Discord. And so we go to quant data, right? We're in a few plays in the Discord. I'm not going to talk about them all, but we go to quant data and we look this up. Okay. So, give me some grace here because it's going to take a minute. And so we look up NVIDIA because we want to look these contracts up, right? And so we put in NVIDIA, we put in the expiration date. So we're looking at what? January 24th, right? And then your strike price will be 140. It's dark in here, guys. All right, it's dark. That's why I'm typing in the wrong things. Okay, but you see it here. I mean, this is insane. Okay, this is absolutely insane. Look at all of these calls that institutions are doing on Nvidia. So hopefully you waited this up to this point, and hopefully it was worth the wait. Okay, so because I took my time with that one. All right, but as you guys can see, look at how insane this is. this is absolutely diabolical. And then you have like very small premiums, like $475 worth of premiums. But I mean, it just keeps getting, more and more crazy. I mean, look at all of these calls, these bullish spikes. And so this leads me to believe that Nvidia is going to head towards 143 at minimum. Okay, at minimum. But I mean, look right here. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Okay, so again, January 24th, 140 calls. Check it out yourself, do your own confirmation. Don't take my word for it, but this is insane, guys. Again, quant data link will be in the description below if you want to see what institutions are trading, because this is beautiful. I mean, this is insane, guys. So, I mean, I I can just keep going. There's so many calls in the 140 strike for Nvidia. You got a 38 million premium. I mean, what more could you ask for here? And so again, as long right now, Nvidia just looks great. Okay, it just looks great on the institution side. So if Nvidia reclaims 138, I would say 138.5 to be safe. You can start heading towards that 140 target. Now, the measured move for this falling wedge pattern is about the 150s, 157. Okay, but we're gonna lowball it. We're gonna focus on 143 first, and then after that, you're looking at 145, and then 147, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what we're looking at for Nvidia. That's what we're looking at for the overall market. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about the VIX, and then I'm gonna get you guys up out of here because this is a long video. All right, so the VIX. So the VIX has retested, that 16. Well, actually, it went as high as about 18 today. So very interesting, right? But what's really interesting about the VIX is it left a gap open. Okay, and this is another reason why I think we're going to see one more pump before we dump. It left another gap. So now we got three gaps to look forward to on the VIX. So maybe this does lead into a Santa rally. I don't know. Again, I'm still not anticipating it. Maybe Nvidia changes things. We'll see. But right now, I don't see it just yet. Okay, so we'll see. We'll talk about it if my mind changes. But right now, I mean, you have a gap at 14.7. You have another gap at 13.8, and then you have another gap as low as about 13. And if we're talking about a Santa rally, I would imagine we're heading towards 11.69. So VIX looks okay. Okay, VIX looks pretty good here. Now, there is a hammer pattern here, a reversal pattern on the VIX as well on a 4-hour time frame. So it's all a matter of who's going to win come next week. And so I do think that heading into New Year's, I don't think we're going to see like some massive drop prior to New Year's. Okay, I think that would be absolutely evil. Okay, if that does happen, I think maybe the second week of January we start seeing some actual downside play out. So we'll see. So hopefully you guys made it up to this point. Hopefully it was worth it. Discord link is in the description below if you want to see how we're going to trade, if we're going to trade these things. We're in a few trades right now, a few long-term trades, so things are looking pretty good. And so if you have any questions, comment your thoughts below. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Just keep it respectful, okay? I know that's hard for a lot of you. A lot of you just lurk my page and stalk my page and prey on my downfall. I mean, if you're making money, why would you be on my page preying on my downfall? I feel like if you're making money, you should be happy with your life. I don't know. But